Quiznos currently has 238 locations scattered around the country. The sad part is, Quiznos had over 4,500 locations in its heyday during the early 2000s. But now they've lost 90% of their locations. So, what happened? The fragile foundation Quiznos' rapid growth seemed like a dream come true, as it became a threat to Subway with its toasted subs. However, the 4,500 locations that Quiznos had were built on a foundation of low profits. This led to frustrated franchisees who were making almost no profit. When the recession hit in 2008, the decline of Quiznos began. As franchisees couldn't afford the tiny profits, they started closing down while Subway flourished with its new $5 footlong sub. Those 4,700 locations averaged just $400,000 in revenue a year, but it has long been a dominant force in the sandwich business, perhaps never more so than in 2006. The company did two things that would hammer Quiznos. First, it added small toasters in all of its locations in 2005, eroding what Quiznos felt was a competitive advantage. The smaller chain failed to properly react to the move, and then Subway began selling footlong subs for $5. Quiznos made the mistake of trying to compete by discounting. The most famous example of this was when the company sent out a coupon for a free sandwich, and franchisees, angry at the discounts and low profits, revolted and refused to accept the coupons. Customers got angry, and Quiznos' problems got worse. Quiznos franchise costs. Now let's take a look at the costs associated with opening a Quiznos franchise. The estimated total investment for beginning operations ranges between $216,100 and $338,500. Apart from the initial investment, there are other fees to consider, such as royalty fees, 5% of gross sales, marketing fees, 2% of gross sales, and management fees, 3% of gross sales. But the total estimated cost does not include the cost of real estate, so you might want to keep that in mind. Opening a Quiznos franchise. Quiznos is currently looking for new investors to open franchises to prevent the brand from disappearing. There are no net worth requirements, and the liquid capital required to open a Quiznos is only 30% of the initial investment. The process to open a franchise is similar to most other franchises, involving an application and an interview if you qualify. Quiznos franchise. Owner's income. Quiznos does not make any representations about a franchisee's future financial performance or the past financial performance of company-owned or franchised outlets. However, if you're purchasing an existing Quiznos, the company may provide you with the actual records of that Quiznos. But with the current sales revenue, it is difficult to cover expenses and sell the franchise at a good price. Conclusion. In conclusion, Quiznos used to be one of the biggest franchises in the country with over 4,500 units, but is slowly going out of business for several reasons. The small sales revenue of the franchises is probably the main factor, as it's impossible to stay in business when the average franchise makes only $22,000. Additionally, the franchisor itself is making almost no profit and even losing significant amounts of money in some years, which is bad for the franchisees as they don't have a strong company to generate profits. The buyout in 2006, a private equity firm, CCM Capital Advisors, bought a minority stake in Quiznos from Consumer Capital Partners, an investment firm led by Rick Shaden. The leveraged buyout left the company with hundreds of millions in debt. When Quiznos filed for bankruptcy in 2014, the company had $875 million in loan obligations. Leveraged buyouts assume that a company can continue to grow because money from the company is used to pay the previous owners, in this case, Consumer Capital Partners. Such buyouts are relatively common. They're also massively risky, and Quiznos would prove to be the worst-case scenario. Lessons on their own: the different factors that contributed to Quiznos' downfall are common. Leveraged buyouts are common. Systems often charge operators for things like food or rent. Many franchisees have small franchisees with small unit volumes. Recessions happen every few years, and the business is always competitive. What made Quiznos unique is that these all happened to the same company at the same time. It's unlikely we'll see another situation like it. Still, there are lessons to be learned here for the restaurant business, and the biggest one is this: make sure your franchisees can make money, and then find ways to help them keep making money. Because if your operators are happy, then your business will perform better, and you won't find yourself the subject of a brand collapse retrospective in 10 years.